Journey across the globe from Scotland to China with world's greatest train ride videos. Experience the breathtaking thrill and adventure of authentic train travel as you follow the tracks to unique history, fascinating people, and breathtaking scenery. All aboard!
Hawaii. Its stunning beauty has entranced people since the time of the early Polynesians. Today, the island of Maui continues to capture the imagination of all who come to view its scenic grandeur. Towering high above the ocean from whence they came, the West Maui Mountains make all that surround them almost insignificant. Even though these magnificent peaks seem foreboding, this beautiful manifestation of God's handiwork has served as a beacon. And today on the slopes of the West Mauis, we find the valley carpeted with sugarcane, a link to the island's agricultural past. Next to the cane fields, we see the modern Hawaii, with world-class golf courses and resorts by the sea. Bridging the old with the new is a Maui institution that is equally at home in both areas, the sugar cane train. Although a train is the last thing that many people expect to find in Hawaii, the Lahaina, Ka'anapali, and Pacific Railroad has been running along Maui's west side since the late 1960s. The railroad's primary purpose is to transport vacationers between the resorts at Ka'anapali and the town of Lahaina. Yet there is much more to the train than that. The LK&P, commonly referred to as the sugarcane train, is a link to the past, to a time when railroads were a part of everyday Hawaiian life. Climb aboard as we take a ride on the only railroad running in regular service in the state of Hawaii, the sugarcane train. Mornings are a busy time at the Pu'ukoli'i Road Roundhouse, where one can find the shop crew hard at work as the trains are prepared for the day's runs. Although the engines are all dialed up, They are indeed real steam locomotives that need care and inspection before the trains roll. The northernmost stop on the line is the boarding platform at Pu'ukoli'i. A popular stop for tour buses, it becomes momentarily busy as people pile aboard.
What?
Hi, good morning, folks, and welcome aboard the Sugarcane Train, Lahaina, Kaanapali, and Pacific Railroad. For my Japanese friends, ohayo gozaimasu. Nice sunny day out in Kaanapali. My name's Pete. I'm your train conductor today. I'll be narrating your tour, pointing out various things of interest along the way. The golf course you're seeing up on the left here is the North Course of the Royal Kaanapali Golf Club. It is a championship golf course, 18 holes, par 72. And we do occasionally have some pretty big PGA golf tournaments out on this golf course. Most recently, the Senior PGA Golf Tournament just happened a few weeks ago, GTE Senior Classic. And we had all the best senior golfers in the world competing out here on the North Course. Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino, all the golfing greats.
3 adult, 1 child, run trip, please.
1, 2, 3, okay.
The second station on the way to Lahaina is the stop at the beautiful resort area of Kaanapali. Here, the locomotive stops for water as a jitney brings patrons from the beach hotels. The Kaanapali Beach Resort Complex was begun in 1960 with the construction of the Sheraton Maui. It didn't take long for Kaanapali to become one of the premier tourist destinations in the United States as people began flocking to Maui to frolic on the beach and go for a swim in the ocean. Five miles south of the Kaanapali resorts is the old whaling town of Lahaina, which is a popular destination for the guests from the resorts. Although a 4-lane highway connects the two areas, the sugarcane train provides a decidedly different way to get there.
The railroad does what it was designed to do, is it carries passengers and entertains people. It's a different way of getting to town, and it's a different sort of countryside to go through. You're not driving on the highway. You can see how it was 100 years ago passing through the sugarcane fields when it was the only way to get back and forth to work for many of the people that worked out here. And it's a little piece of history that's still running in this rather modern resort area of Kaanapali.
Eyeball.
Good morning. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Hello there.
Hi.
Okay, mahalo. Hello.
Departing Ka'anapali, the train begins to angle away from the highway as it gives the passengers one more look at the resorts.
On the ocean side of the train, a little bit towards the rear of the train now, is the Royal Lahaina Hotel out there, the tan high-rise. And down across the lower golf course, the little green and white hotel, is the Sheraton Maui. Now, this is where the Ka'anapali resort area began down at the north end here, and these were the very first two hotels to be built out here in Ka'anapali. They both opened in 1963. That's the Ka'anapali resort area down below. The word Ka'anapali in Hawaiian means the rolling cliffs. Rolling cliffs. Island that you see out in the background behind Ka'anapali, that is the island of Lanai, which they call the Pineapple Isle. Every island has a little nickname that tells you about the character of the island. Of course, Maui is called the Valley Isle. The golf course you're seeing right out here, this is the south course of the Royal Ka'anapali Golf Club. Also 18 holes, par 72. This course was designed by Jack Snyder. Directly below the train, the Hyatt Regency Hotel, those 3 tan high-rises. To the right, that pink hotel, the Maui Marriott. Well, we're having a beautiful sunny day today, so I feel like singing a song about nice sunshine we're getting here. Get up, rise and shine, rub your weary eyes, for the morning sunlight is tapping at your window. Forget yesterday and leave all your cares behind you. It's time to let yourself unwind. Well, we're gonna have a good time. There's gonna be sunny days for you and me. Sunny, funny days. I say, get up, go outside, and take yourself on a long train ride. 'Cause the morning sunlight will brighten all your sorrows. Forget yesterday, just leave all your cares behind you. It's time to let yourself unwind. We're gonna have a good time. There's gonna be sunny days for you and me. Sunny, funny days.
Once the train has crossed Hahakea Trestle, it leaves the resort community and plunges into the cane fields.
As we come over the trestle, what we're looking at here is a big sugar cane field. About 7 months growth on this field. And at 7 months, this field is about a third of the way toward full maturity. They do let sugar cane grow almost 2 years before finally harvesting it. Sugar cane is a tall member of the grass family of plants. It was first brought to the Hawaiian Islands by the ancient Polynesians who came from the Society Islands of the South Pacific. And they were the ones that brought sugar cane to the Hawaiian Islands. It does grow year-round here in the islands, and of course it has been the main agricultural crop for hundreds of years.
Originally, sugar came here to the islands with the Polynesians back around 500 AD. Now, the reason for that is the Polynesians or the Hawaiians use sugar for their own purposes, for kind of making spirits, but basically for something to eat after meals, something that was sweet. Also, they brought their own coconuts in. That's why we have all the coconuts over here.
Strangely enough, sugar was always part of the Hawaiian culture. The early Hawaiians who arrived here, probably from Tahiti, brought sugar cane with them, and it was part of their diet. So they knew how to grow sugar. But the industry itself, the producing of raw cane sugar in crystal form, was a development, I believe, in Germany. as I said, and that was brought here by people like Claus Spreckels, particularly to Maui. And the reason it was grown here was because we have the most unique climate in the world for growing sugar. The yield per acre in Hawaii is around 1,200 tons of sugar per acre. Now that is twice the normal yield of sugar per acre any other place in the world. And the reason for that is that in Hawaii we can make sugar grow for 2 years rather than 1 year. Sugar is naturally a 1-year crop. At every place else it grows, like Louisiana, it's 1 year. But in Hawaii, because we can control the irrigation, we can actually remove the water from the fields just about when it's going to start to ripen, and we will shock that plant into going on for 1 full year extra.
Although the West Maui Mountains are one of the wettest places on Earth and provide the cane fields ample irrigation water, there are plenty of sunny days for the riders of the sugarcane train.
I say, there's gonna be sunny days for you and me. I say, sunny, funny days. Oh, there's gonna be, I say, there's gonna be some sunny days, some funny days for you and me, for you and me, yeah, yeah, for you and me, for you and me.
Once the train reaches the outskirts of Lahaina, it rejoins the highway and rolls through a pretty residential neighborhood. One of the most unique aspects of the sugarcane train is its singing conductor, a tradition as old as the railroad.
Where I live, there are rainbows with flowers full of colors and birds filled with song.
On most days, one can find Analu at the throttle of the locomotive. However, from time to time, he brings his ukulele and adds his own personal Maui flavor to the conductor's chair.
He's a Maui boy, and he got what it takes. Likes a Maui girl, make no mistake. He doesn't matter if she comes from Lahaina, Hawaii, Hawaii. When they're together, he knows just what to do. Oh yeah, he is a Maui boy, and he got real style. She's a Maui girl, and what a smile. He's a calabash cousin of everyone, and everyone loves that son of a gun, that Maui boy from the Valley Isle. I'm going to Maui tomorrow to marry Tamaramaru. Nothing could be finer than to be in Lahaina and make Tamara my own. I'll smile on the island of the valley and live a life of delight. I'm going to Maui to marry Tamara tomorrow unless I get lucky tonight. Yeah.
30 minutes after it left Pu'okoli'i, the sugarcane train pulls into the old whaling town of Lahaina. The station at Lahaina is the focal point of the Lahaina-Ka'anapali and Pacific. There is much activity here as the locomotive is turned around and people constantly coming and going.
Your attention please, passengers for downtown Lahaina, glass bottom boat, Omni Theater. The red bus now being boarded at the rear of the station. Minesama akai baso Lahaina town des, ikimasho.
In addition to the train ride, the railroad provides service to the major attractions in Lahaina using its popular London double-decker bus. The upstairs seats provide a splendid view of the old whaling town. Today, Lahaina's main business is tourism, with many shops lining the streets. Despite the large number of visitors, Lahaina has retained its old-time charm. Structures such as the Baldwin Missionary Home, the Lahaina House, and the Pioneer Inn, that's where the U.S. flag was raised over Hawaii for the first time, all provide glimpses into the history of this community, which is one of the oldest towns in the entire United States.
The interesting thing about Lahaina is how old it really is. Lahaina was a bustling town before Columbus ever discovered America. So it was an old, ancient Hawaiian village. And when the missionaries and the whalers came here in the early 1820s, they sort of converted the Hawaiian people, the whole atmosphere, into the 19th century, brought the Hawaiian people in contact with the Western outside world. And all of that happened in this little town because this was the capital of the Hawaiian kingdom. And the primary industry was whaling until about 1860. Whaling then died out after the Civil War, and sugar took over. Sugar became the primary industry of the kingdom. I must remember in those that we still have not been acquired by the United States of America. We're still an independent Hawaiian kingdom. And the King of Hawaii welcomed the German sugar planters who brought the techniques of growing sugar and of processing sugar.
One of the early sugar mills that came under German control was Lahaina's Pioneer Mill, which has been a prominent company in the town ever since. This large facility has been here for over 100 years. Even though today's operations are largely mechanized, this was not always the case.
Originally, when they started the plantations, the Kanakas, as they call them, that was the the lower class of Hawaiians that were working the fields. They would carry the sugar cane on their backs, and they would bring them to a little cart, loaded on the cart. A mule would be hooked up to that cart and haul it off to the sugar mill. Through the years, the first train originally was on the island of Kauai at the Lehui plantation. A German fella is the one who invented the train over there. They decided that trains could haul more cars, haul more sugar, and take the place of the back-breaking job that the Kanakas were doing. Eventually, they had what they call side rails that went up off into the mountain. These were portables. They had little cars on there. They would load those cars. The cars would come down to the main line, load on to the flat cars that the train would haul to the mill. At times, they would have about 15 flat cars on the back of one engine.
The railroad brought most of the cane and also took the workers to work. Because the workers, the vast majority of them, upwards of 4,000 at the height of the industry here before the First World War, upwards of 4,000 workers were taken to work every morning on that train. And that train was the key to the success of the plantation.
It's hard to imagine, but on the site of today's Sheridan Hotel, there used to be a railroad terminal. Here we see cars of the old Pioneer Mill Railroad waiting to unload onto a ship at Black Rock Point. This was a scene that was repeated all over Hawaii.
At one time, there were railroad trains on every Hawaiian island. They were mostly centered around the plantations, and they were used to bring the sugar cane in from the fields to the processing mills of the plantations. And so their primary purpose was an industrial type railroads. There were common carrier railroads in Hawaii, though, that carried sugar from the mills down to the harbor areas and had passenger service. But on the whole, the majority of railroading in Hawaii was on an industrial scale. And some of the mills were quite sophisticated in their operations, with having many steam engines. Pioneer Mill generally had 3 or 4 steam engines in service all the time, from their first beginnings with the railroad in the 1880s until they finally abandoned railroad operations in 1953.
The Hawaiian railroads that most resembled their North American counterparts were located on the Big Island of Hawaii. Here one could find the full-size standard gauge Hawaiian Consolidated Railway. This was the only Hawaiian railroad built to the mainland standard gauge. One of the more famous Hawaiian main lines was the Oahu Railway. In its heyday, it encircled a good deal of the island of Oahu, and during World War II hauled a massive quantity of both freight and passengers. Maui also had a narrow-gauge mainline railroad. Although not as busy as the Oahu, the Kahului Railroad played an important part in the growth of the island. In 1879, construction began on what later became the Kahului Railroad. Running along the north coast of Maui, the line served the many sugarcane and pineapple plantations of the area. After World War II, the plantation railroads began switching to large cane-hauling trucks. Lahaina's Pioneer Mill was no exception. Here we see today's sugarcane train running alongside a modern cane road, which is actually built on the old railroad. By the 1950s, even Hawaii's mainline railroads were in serious trouble. And the 1960s saw railroading in Hawaii come to an end. Today, only a few traces of the old railroad lines remain. In Kahului, the old railroad station is an office building. The roundhouse and shop complex are a truck terminal. Another vestige of the Kahului Railroad that is still around is engine number 1, the Klaus Spreckels. This locomotive, along with an old coach, has been restored to working order for a museum display and still runs from time to time. These relics remind us of the Maui railroading past that is now over. In 1969 and 70, a strange sight befell people visiting Maui, that of a railroad actually under construction. Although railroads had all but vanished in the state of Hawaii, there was a brand new line being built between Ka'anapali and Lahaina, today's sugarcane train. In 1966, Mr. A.W. Mac McKelvey visited Lahaina and fell in love with the beauty of the area. It was he who dreamed of recreating a Hawaiian sugarcane railroad to transport visitors through the countryside. He teamed up with the Mackay Corporation, a firm with many investments in the hotel and entertainment business, to build his new railroad. Before long, crews were busy laying the track, which incidentally came from the abandoned Kahului Railroad. On the U.S. mainland in Pennsylvania, new coaches were being built that resembled the Kalakaua coaches of the old Hawaiian Railroad. At the same time, 2 old steam locomotives that had formerly been used by the Carbon Limestone Company in Amherst, Ohio, were being rebuilt to resemble the old Hawaiian plantation locomotives. The first locomotive completed was engine number 1, called the Anaka, in keeping with the practice of Hawaiian plantation locomotives having names. The other locomotive is engine number 3, the Myrtle. Despite the differences in the appearance of the 2 engines, they are both the same mechanically.
The 2 engines are identical. They have, matter of fact, have consecutive serial numbers on them, but they're quite different in their appearances. They were modified in the late 1960s when they were brought to Hawaii before service on the Lahaina, Kaanapali, and Pacific to resemble Hawaiian locomotives that were no longer here. And the Inaka is stylized after an engine that would have been typical before the turn of the century. And the Myrtle is a little more modern style after the turn of the century. Although they're not authentic in that they aren't the original Hawaiian engines, they do look very typical of the engines of the period, and we do maintain them in a rather fancy dress because of the fact they are passenger locomotives.
The Myrtle is patterned after a locomotive on the old Hawaiian Railroad and does in fact look much like the original. The Inaka, while not patterned after any particular locomotive, has features taken from a variety of examples of the old Hawaiian engines. When Inaka was completed, it made a strange sight leading its train out of the factory in Pennsylvania. A still more bizarre sight was that of the Inaka being test run on the historic East Broad Top Railroad in Pennsylvania. Seeing the old limestone hauling locomotive all fancied up in Hawaiian garb, running on a railroad famous for hauling coal, must have been quite a sight indeed.
You're gonna get it down!
Once the Lahaina, Kaanapali, and Pacific was completed, a grand celebration was held as the Inaka pulled the first train over a Hakea trestle. The owners of the new line had much to be proud of that day and began actively promoting their railroad. Once they even staged a very un-Hawaiian event for a local TV news crew. It wasn't long, though, before the sugarcane train and the Mackay Corporation were in serious trouble. Although history has shown that the train was a good idea, it was simply built at the wrong time. While tourism on Maui was increasing, there were not enough visitors to support the train and its staff. In October of 1972, the railroad shut down due to lack of patronage. In 1973, Willis Kyle, the owner of the San Francisco steel fabricating plant and other railroads, purchased the LK&P from bankruptcy and began the task of rebuilding the railroad. Although the going was slow, Mr. Kyle and his people have transformed the railroad into the success that it is today. Departing Lahaina, the Inaka works hard as she begins the trip back up to Pu'ukoli'i. The trip back offers patrons a chance to see some of the country missed on the way over.
If you look off the left-hand side of the train, you'll notice a long line of 83 coconut palm trees here. Now, this is a historical grove of trees, been here for a very long time. It's called the Royal Mullen Grove. These palm trees were planted in 1827 by King Kamehameha's Queens. Royal Mama Grove. So this tree's been here way before this big 4-lane highway, all the houses and cars and things. Way back then, this was probably a little dirt road with ox carts, animal-drawn carts hauling sugar cane, moving along slowly. Quite a different scene back in the early 1800s on this side of town.
Up in the cab of a Naka, the crew is busy getting everything in order as we prepare to leave sea level and begin the climb to Pu'ukoli'i. The train may be full of happy vacationers, but as far as the locomotive is concerned, they are dead weight as it pulls up grade.
Steepest grade is less than 2% grade. That's going uphill, and it's just a nice little chug. But there are places where you got to back off on the throttle and go in and keep your coaches nice and even, without letting them rock and roll.
I want to go back to my little grass shack in Kealakekua, Hawaii, to be with all the Connies and Wahinas that I used to know so long ago. I could hear the old guitars playing on the beach at Honau. Can hear the old Hawaiian saying, Ko Hawaii no ko ika Welakahau. Won't be long till my ship will be sailing back to Kona. It's a grand old place, it's always fair to see. Well, I'm just a little Hawaiian and a homesick island boy. I wanna go back to my fish and poi. I wanna go back to my little grass shack in Kealakekua, Hawaii, where the go swimming by. Say where the go swimming by.
Climbing back up through the cane fields, it is easy to fall in love with this beautiful island. It is easy to understand people's feelings toward the island and its little railroad.
Years ago, it was a railroad kingdom. The islands had 250 steam engines that used to operate through 4 of the islands, Kauai, Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island. And all of them have gone. And we're the only ones left to carry on the tradition of railroading in Hawaii.
We're happy to have the restored Lahaina, Ka'anapali, and Pacific Railroad in Lahaina. It adds greatly to its charm, to its history, and it's a valid part of Lahaina's history.
The last departure from Lahaina signals that another day is nearly complete. As the train charges by the setting sun, one can understand the pride the employees feel for their railroad. Although this video presentation has concentrated on the trains, we leave you with the employees giving you a real Hawaiian aloha, their way of thanking you for coming along for a ride on the sugarcane train.
In the sun, while your children play, rivers sing of their lullaby. Rainbows fill their youthful eyes.
Aloha from Hawaii.
Moonlight lady, voice like a running stream. Not too many men forget your song. Moonlight lady, skin warm as a noonday sun. Not too many men forget your spell.
See you on the next World's Greatest Train Ride Video Adventure.